Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks, lots of fun fights at UFC Vegas 48. Lots to talk about. We had 7 finishes, 4 performance of the night bonuses. My name is Derick G, and let that be your greeting for the next 90 minutes. Once again, folks, fun night of fights this weekend. Man, I don't know what else to say about it, but I know I need to bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber. Listen, 4-1 on the board, across the board, I should say, AJ. It was a draw, it was a wash, whatever you like to call it. It was dead even. But one thing that we should take to note is that, listen, we moving up above 500 more and more, brother. You love to see it. What'd you think of the fights this weekend, man?
Ooh, it was a pretty fun night, man. A lot of entertaining things, a lot of things that I saw that kind of happened the way, you know, the plan was written out, and then a lot of shaking stuff up, man. It was good to see some different things going on, and a lot of KOs, like you said, man. Stiff as a board, a couple people that night.
Absolutely. And once again, like we talked about last week, there's a lot of these lackluster in name value cards that end up being some of the biggest bangers on the year. We learned that the hard way during COVID, when it was a lot of these UFC Vegas cards where we're like, oh man, I don't know if we're used to the change, all that good stuff. But either way, they delivered, they performed. Only two upsets, excuse me, AJ, on the card, my man. If you had to guess right now, just off the top of your head, who do you think those upsets were in terms of name value?
Ooh, maybe Stephanie Egger with the armbar, and was it Buckley?
Close. You got one half of it, my man. Egger and Jim Miller. Those are the 2 upsets on the card in terms of opening odds, folks. Once again, that is always the odds that we refer to when we're talking about the wagering on this program. But yeah, man, I mean, those were 2 really live dogs. And my 2 live dogs on the card were Johnny Walker and Jim Miller. So I was close. I didn't show enough love to my girl, Stephanie Egger. We're going to talk about her in 1 second. But AJ, on the over and unders, not too hot here today, my man. I went 2-3 on the over and unders, and you went 1-4. So rough night at the office in terms of that wagering prop. But either way, man, 4-1 on the night. I definitely think it was a good night, you know what I mean? In terms of our record book, all of that good stuff, my man. I did want to talk real fast, man. This is not necessarily related, but I did want to make note of it in case you're, you know, just an old school nostalgic fight fan. But Kell Brook, he fought Amir Khan this weekend, man, and it kind of felt like there was no marketing for it. I had no idea the fight was going on until I flipped it on, and I was like, oh man, Kell Brook is fighting, cool. He ends up getting a 6-round stoppage against Amir Khan, and I mean, it was what it was. He moves to 40-3 with 28 knockouts, man. A beautiful thing to see. How much you watching boxing these days, AJ?
Ooh, very little, man. Very little. Like, unless there's something big being promoted, like I didn't even know, man. Yeah. So very few and far in between. I try to avoid all the celebrity hype and actually watch some real boxers. Yeah. So that's about the only time, man. And it seems that there's less and less promotion and less events, which is weird.
Yeah, it's a new generation, a new era, right? You know, out are the Triple G's, the Floyd Mayweathers, you know what I mean? In are I guess it's not anything new, but Canelo's been running the scene for quite some time. You got George Kambosos, who got the big win over Teofimo Lopez recently, man. So it's just a little bit of a shakeup, getting the younger generation in there, but it's a beautiful thing to see either way. AJ, UFC Vegas 48, highlights and results. UFC vet Chaz Skelly, a man who I'd been talking about for a while, lo and behold, just had his retirement fight, my man. It feels like we had no idea. We didn't talk about that on the preview show. We just talked about him fighting because, to be honest with you, I had no idea. It's as simple as that. But what a way to walk away, my man, with a knee to the face to some ground and pound, gets the KO against Mark Striegel. It was a beautiful thing to see. This is Skelly's first knockout win since 2015. But AJ, is this a half-baked retirement? Chaz Skelly says that he would stay on the UFC roster if they offered him something enticing. What does that mean to you?
Man, I when I saw this live, like when he was announcing this at the post-fight, I was very confused because it seemed like it was somebody saying, I'm going to take my ball and go home, but not too many people are clamoring to play with that ball. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chaz Skelly is an amazing fighter, but it wasn't no media, the very weird drop for it. So it seems a little half-baked maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that this is the perfect way to go out, man. If you look at the long game, right? He's 19-3 in his MMA career. He's 8-3 with 1 no contest in his UFC career. this is the time to walk away if you're going to. He says he wants to basically set adrift on a new career of his, which would then be grappling. He has a roofing company, I believe, something like that. But in terms of his athletic pursuits, I think grappling is probably going to be the way to go. It's something you can do when you get a little bit older. You don't want to chase the grind that is mixed martial arts with these young guns. It's a young man's game, you know what I mean? So this is a way to walk away, but 19-3, there's nothing to hang your hat on necessarily there, or hang your head on. There's nothing to look down upon. That is a great career overall. Do you agree?
That was an amazing career, man. Especially doing the thing Chad Skelly does. Maybe the casuals don't necessarily have the appreciation, but I know a lot of the hardcores know the name Chad Skelly, and he's a banger out there, man.
Absolutely, and to get it done at a advanced age as he is at, my man, it's a beautiful thing to see. Lastly, before we kind of get into some photo collection, all that, David Onama, the UFC prospect, he defeats Gabriel Benitez via first-round KO in a featherweight bout. But he used a 14-punch combination to end the fight, AJ. I don't know if there's some type of stat or record or anything that he broke in that knockout win, but it was impressive nonetheless, especially because his vision was compromised. He had been hurt just a few seconds earlier against Mowgli Benitez. And listen, man, this is one where we were kind of talking about it back and forth, and I said I liked Onama. You were like, nah, man, I think I like Benitez there. Either one were fair picks because let me be honest with you. I had actually did a live in-bet wager on Onama when the fight started at -200, and then I was like, oh my God, can I take my money back, please? Until he got the knockout because it was looking ugly. What do you think about that fight?
Man, it was bad. It was looking a little ugly. I love the fact, man. This is the same reason why I like Benil Dariush, man. You tag him, you get him hurt, and he's even more dangerous. I got a lot of respect for Onama, man, because that 14-punch combination was legit. And he had Mowgli Benitez stiff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just look at it like this, man. David Onama, he accepted his UFC debut up a weight class on short notice against the former two-time Cage Warriors champion Mason Jones and lost a close decision. You come back in your full training camp, your actual weight class at featherweight, and you just stiff dudes like that. Yeah, that's a scary man. I'll just say that. But once again, folks, 4-1 across the board are both of us. I moved to 18-14 collectively. 22-10 is AJ. So he is remaining in the lead right now. He's doing pretty damn solid. 12 picks over 500. So it's a beautiful thing to see. But both of us over 500. So that's really the beauty in and of itself. No fight of the night tonight, folks, man. Just 4 performance bonuses. We got Jamahal Hill, Chris Daukaus, David Onama, and Stephanie Egger, which is one of the surprising ones. We're going to talk about that more in just 1 second. But I do want to remind you folks to drop a like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And most importantly, just hit up the YouTube channel, show it a little bit of love, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're about 340 subscribers still at this point, man. So keep it rocking. We appreciate you guys. But AJ, man, I think it's time that we start off with a little bit of a photo collection, my man. So let's jump straight to it. And listen, my man, how surprising is this? Who thought that the memes of the MMA world, the memes of the combat sports world would penetrate so deeply into the actual fixture of what the sport is, what the UFC is? That, if you don't know, folks, for those who are just listening, let me describe it. We have Joaquin Buckley talking to Paul Felder on the mic after getting a razor-close split decision win against Abdul Razak Alhassan, who we will talk about in 1 second. But around his arm is a very famous celebrity, quote-unquote, someone who is the commander at D.U.S.T, the Detroit Urban Survival Training Center. I don't remember what the T stands for. That is Dale Brown right there, folks, man. He's giving you the look like, oh yeah, you knew I was going to be here. Like the look that he's giving right here is telling everybody at home, y'all must have forgot. You know what I'm saying? We the real deal over here. And Joaquin Buckley is enabling whatever you want to call this, man. It was funny. It's jokes. I don't think anyone's taking it too seriously. But is this going a little bit too far, man? What do you think?
Hey, man, I like the the play, man. I like what he has going on. You gotta get, noticed somehow. And he even said, I got more people watching. I got Snoop watching. I got X, Y, and Z. He listed all the people that he knew that were going to be watching the fight. I like it. Hey, man, you got to get it how it gets done. And I think it's pretty funny.
Let me ask you this real fast, AJ. And I don't want to blow this up too much because it's easy to just throw hate at somebody, and that's not what I'm trying to do here at all. But I had actually noticed that Dale Brown, when he was on camera, because Buckley was like, hey, Dale, come here, right? It's not like he was trying to get into the camera himself, right? So he brings him over. He actually seemed a little like I don't want to be right here in front of the camera. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And he actually like kind of stepped away mid-interview to bring Joaquin Buckley's coach into the camera view, and he stepped away. So I want to ask you, do you think he's maybe a little more humble of a guy than we're giving him any credit for? Like, it's easy to manipulate and spin this a certain way, but I mean, maybe we're reading a little bit too much into it. What do you think?
No, I actually really liked when he did that as well, because you can tell he walked in, he did the, the persona on the camera, he hit him with the eyebrow, the whole look he's given, it's very, the meme is there. But then when it gave time for Buckley to actually give, his coach some credit, he stepped off right away and didn't choose to stay in the camera. He actually stepped off and went off onto the side, didn't even want to partake. I liked that about it, man. He knew where his role was. He wasn't trying to chase too much camera time. Gave the credit to the people that actually deserved it. I think it was a smart move all around from both people, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with you right there. That's why I'm like, listen, I want to bring it up. I think it's funny. It's like, this is a meme, but at the same time, let me give you a little bit of an anecdote, my man. So, I'm over here. I live in the Vegas area, right over here in Henderson. And I just think it's funny because you see a lot of people who you don't really expect to run into. And let's just say that he was dining in the town square recently, man, at a place. And my girlfriend actually was taking care of him, serving him at this restaurant, right? And basically, I asked her about it a little bit, and she said that the persona, the character that is Dale Brown wasn't on display when he was just out eating some good food with his folks and all that good stuff, man. So listen, man, the Colby Covingtons, the Dale Browns, whatever you want to call it, a lot of the time to get this money, you got to put on the persona, you got to put on the act, but we're all just people at the end of the day, man. I think that's the big lesson to take away. So I didn't get to meet him personally, so I don't have my firsthand experience, but this is a trusted source we're talking about right here, brother. And maybe he's just trying to come up and give back to the city of Detroit. I mean, I don't know. Give me your final thoughts on this and we'll move on.
I've seen a lot of people, whether, it's shout out Moist Critical on YouTube or a lot of these other people that actually go and do like training with Dale. Yeah. And they say the same thing. He's a genuinely good guy, tells you, what it is, how it is, but then still puts on that persona because you gotta make it, man. You gotta have a little stitch in there somehow.
I mean, the internet culture these days, man, there's no way of getting around it, it feels like. But all right, brother, that was the first photo right there. Let's move on to the second one. AJ, man, I have no idea how JSP got out of this choke, but this is Christian Rodriguez versus Jonathan Pearce. And let me just say that this is the last place you want to be fundamentally, right? Jonathan Pearce is inside of Christian Rodriguez's guard. He has a guillotine locked up, tight as ever. You could tell he's starting to do okay, let me start fighting the hand. Let me try to work to get a little bit of space so I can breathe. But you're really contemplating in those moments, because I've been there. I was actually I was rolling against my professor in class the other day, man, and he tapped me out like 10 times in 3 minutes, man, and all guillotines every single time, just trying to shoot in on a double, shoot in on a single, wrapping it. It's tough, man. The time goes by very, very slowly, but JSP proved to be a warrior, a grinder, and he got out of this choke, my man. I mean, if 9 times out of 10, you're probably not getting out of this choke, but this is the one time that he did get out of it. What do you make of the performance of JSP versus Christian Rodriguez?
Man, like you said, Derick, I was surprised he got out because that was deep elbow crust of the elbow deep, man. That was in. And very smooth performance. I mean, JSP did what he did. He called him out at the end, saying, I do think this guy has a lot of room to grow and a lot of places he can be going in the future. I was just a little surprised by getting out of that guillotine choke, man. Very impressive.
And it wasn't just one time. It happened like 2 or 3 times during the fight, man. So it was just like, man, time and time again, you keep putting yourself there in that spot. You got to pass over to side control in order to mitigate the pressure of that choke. But he was able to get out of it, man. He is a grinder. He has heart. He has one thing you can't teach, brother, and that is heart, man. So a big, big win by JSP. I think he moves to 3-1 in the UFC now. This next photo right here is kind of what we were talking about, folks. This is just the stiffening right now. This is Onama. I actually like that nickname, the stiffener, right? Something like that. I like that, right? But Onama gave it to Mowgli Benitez. You can see the mouthpiece starting to come out a little bit, man. This is part of that 14-punch barrage that ended the fight. I mean, tough one if you're Mowgli Benitez. Beautiful end to the fight if you're Onama. But I would like to see both of these men fight again very, very soon, regardless of the win or loss. What do you make of the photo?
Man, this is a rough spot to be in for Mobley Benitez. You can even see he's so worried about that right hand coming up next. He's already that's what he's looking at.
Yeah.
But that left one is stiffing him on the chin. This is a really good spot for Onama to be in, man. That 14 punch combo after being upset like that. I mean, you don't want to fight that way all the time. You want to be more calculated and correct. But the fact that he can do that and show up, man, very impressive for Onama.
I agree, man. Where does this put him in the trajectory of a UFC prospect? I mean, that is a huge feather to have in your cap right there.
Oh, that's a huge feather to have. I expect him to be fighting top 20, top 15 next, because that's some serious, taking out Mobley Benitez. That's been a name for this past couple, maybe years or so that Mobley's been on his climb and taking all that steam and then running with it for himself for a new dude like Onama. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I mean, listen, the sky is the limit for David Onama fighting out of Glory MMA. I'll just say that right there. All right, AJ, next up. This is the arm bar that we're talking about, the one that surprised me, shocked me a lot, especially because I did not take Stephanie Egger as the jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? You know, I knew she had a little bit of a ground game. I knew that going into this fight, but I thought that Jessica Rose Clark, everything that she said in her pre-fight presser was going to come to fruition more or less. And what she was saying was, listen, I want to fight my fight. I know I wrestled in my last one, but I want to get back to basics, get back to the way that I fight. And we've known Jessica Rose Clark to be a striker over the course of her career. Even Stephanie Egger says, I was surprised that she chose to wrestle and clinch up. I thought that it was going to be a striking fight. But it looks like the judoka in Stephanie Egger came out, man. She used that little judo throw multiple times. She used that scarf hold, the head and arm toss, the same one that Montserrat Ruiz got on Cheyenne Velismus. And, you know, from that head and arm toss to the scarf hold to the arm bar, it was just kind of sequence after sequence after sequence. And it was a quick finish, man. This has got to be a very disappointing result if you're Jessica Rose Clark. But what a way to storm onto the UFC scene if you're Stephanie Egger. Because I'm telling you what, brother, all it takes is one more fight, and she's potentially in that top 11 to 15 range. You know what I mean? Arguably, she could be in the top 15 right now with that win because of how people view Jessica Rose Clark. But what do you make of the performance? Beautiful armbar, great grappling. Just what do you make of it?
Man, you said, Derick, sequence. That was smooth for me for Stephanie Egger, man. I was actually favoring Jessica Rose Clark a little bit in this one, and both fighters were going after it. But I was also surprised to see the fact that Jessica Rose Clark started to wrestle a little bit. But Egger, dog, I can't give enough praises to Egger because she looked big in there. She looked long. She looked smart, patient, calculated, smooth as ever. And she's on a hell of a start, man, to her UFC career. I'm with you right there, Derick. I definitely think she could be top 15 already, if not coming up in her next fight. This girl has a lot of potential and a lot of room to be running forward in the division, and smooth as ever, man. You could even see in that she's deep in that arm bar. I think there's nothing bad you can say about the performance that Edgar had, and she has a lot of good going for her, man.
What do you say about Jessica Rose Clark in this spot, though? You know, like I said, this is a disappointing performance if you're her. She did a lot of work in this training camp leading up to the fight. Quickest turnaround that she's had in quite some time, especially because she's been injured so often. But this wasn't her getting back to her basics. This wasn't her getting back to her striking. I don't know if she felt something by Egger. I don't know what it was, man. But were you surprised to see her come out with this type of performance?
Very surprised, man. I was expecting a lot more hands to be flying. I was expecting Rose Clark to get up on the inside, work that stuff. I honestly think it might have been the range. She was expecting to be pumping her shots, and next thing she knows, she's getting tagged up. Yeah, man, this is a rough loss for Jessica Rose Clark, especially coming back, not necessarily getting the win, but not necessarily having the performance she wanted in her last fight, and then coming out and not having the performance and not getting the win in the next one. It's going to be interesting to see who they pair her with to kind of get her confidence back up, because she is a good fighter and a good media presence. So I do think they'll try to build her up again, but rough one for Rose Clark.
Yeah, agreed, brother. So we'll move on to the next photo. AJ right here, brother, we already talked about Chaz Skelly in the retirement fight, but this is him giving Keith Peterson a stray on the way to finishing Mark Striegel. Listen, the job of a referee is a tough one, my man. You know, you got to get in there and you got to make it happen. And you can't see it on the screen, folks, but this is a tweet by Bilal Muhammad, which reads, "Dang, Keith took a hook to the face and didn't flinch. He's no nonsense for a reason." So let's give a little bit of credit to my man Keith Peterson right there, because, yeah, you eat a stiff one on the jaw and you still got to do do your job and you can't retaliate, man. I mean, that's something right there. Photo from MMA Fighting, of course. But AJ, what do you make of that, man? Would you, if you took a stiff one while you was refereeing, would you have the composure to be like, all right, chill, it's all good, you know what I mean? I mean, what if he got clipped? What if he like legitimately got clipped and was out on his feet? Like, I don't know. What do you make of it?
Man, that's what I was thinking. I'd be more worried because you're not seeing that one coming. You're so worried about stopping the fight. Next thing you know, you catch one on the jaw. I'd be worried about going out and not being able to defend, help. Do your job. Man, all credit to Keith. I actually didn't see this in the fight, but I'm curious how much that actually happens because when people are just swinging, you can get clipped easy. Man, that's funny, man.
It does make me wonder a little bit, like, if you're a referee and you do get clipped, are you going on autopilot? You know what I mean? How they say, like, as in a fight, you just start going on autopilot, you start doing anything, you start reffing on autopilot, you know what I mean? You stop the fight already. Like, I don't know, man. But listen, impressive showing from Keith Peterson. Great chin on the man, I suppose, man. Next photo that we got up here, this is just the second part of the collection. This is just that knee, man. Beautiful knee by Chaz Skelly. These long, lanky fighters, brother, it's so easy to do this against some of the shorter stature fighters. You just bring that knee up and it landed on the chin and he bounced off of that thing, man. Like, it was a thing of beauty. Folks, if you have not caught the prelims, if you did not catch the prelims, you still have time. If you have ESPN Plus, go back and just rewatch this fight because I'm telling you, this was not a star-studded one. This is not one that had a lot of hype behind it, but we talked about it and we said the potential of a good fight that we had here. Did I think it was going to end in a knockout? Absolutely not, but I was pleasantly surprised, man. So you got any words on that?
Pleasantly surprised for sure, Derick. No, man, this is a beautiful knee by Skelly, man. Yeah. Hips tucked under, knee all the way up, basically at his own chin height level. Yeah, that is a knee you don't want to eat, man. And unfortunately, some people got to eat it sometimes.
Some people got to eat it, my man. All right, next up, this is Gloria Paula after winning a very close decision, AJ, against Diana Belbita. Listen, man, obviously I was rooting for Belbita. I picked for Belbita. However, I can totally understand how Gloria Paula won this fight. Just a little more sharper with her tactics, did a little bit of clinching, a little bit of try to get the grappling going. I felt like this was power over volume over here, AJ, and I actually wanted to, if you don't mind, take a step into the UFC stats real fast. I wanted to just look at the numbers on this fight. So, it looks like Gloria, razor close, bro. 124 strikes by Belbita, 113 total strikes for DePaula, but we're talking about signature strikes, 87 for Belbita and 88 for DePaula. So it's right there. Like, this is razor close, man. In terms of a round per round basis, it's, Belbita, she was outlanding, out throwing, I guess I should say, Gloria Paula. But overall, man, it was just a really fun fight. This was my sleeper, so I do want to take a little bit of credit. I knew this was going to be fun. I didn't think it would be that razor close. And I'm not going to lie to you, at the end of the fight, it was one of those you watch for entertainment and you don't score. Like, I was like, I don't know who won this fight, man. But I know that the referees got a tough job ahead of them right there. I will just say that, man. Did you have the same thoughts, the same feelings? Do you agree that the right person got their hand raised in this fight?
Yeah. I didn't score this one either, but it was a very razor close finish. I definitely think, I wouldn't have been upset either way with how this one went. Sure. I was rooting a little bit for Gloria Paula. But also at the same time, Belbita, she got the love too. So, like I said, not upset by the decision. I do think the right person won, but a razor close fight. You can't be mad at that.
Yeah, and this was DePaula's first UFC win, man, so she needed this one bad. But I did want to ask, Belbita, she just looks like she can be a real problem in this division if she just strings it together the right way. Her frame, her size, her length, her power, all of it is there. Do you anticipate a solid bounce-back performance for Belbita in her next one?
I hope so, man. I hope they give her somebody to get that confidence going a little bit because she has, like you said, all the intangibles needed to kind of put things in the order. It just wasn't her night, and it was very, very close to being her night. Yeah. But I hope they give her somebody that's actually get that ball rolling a little bit.
Absolutely, and I did think it was awesome too that going back to the photo, Gloria Paula, she's being held up right now by Maeda Buena Silva, who is her partner. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're both fighters, they're both in it together. Gloria Paula gets the first dub, man. That's what you need right there. It's a big one. And then last photo that I got right here, AJ, this is just a beautiful knee. This is Mario Batista throwing a flying knee against Jay Perrin. This is the first fight of the night, man. And this was a fun one. Mario Batista is the real deal. I believe this is his first win since 2019. He's been out of action for quite some time. But when he's on, brother, he's on. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. For those who are just listening, this is Mario Batista. He's just flying high in the air. Jay Perrin, he got the mouthpiece out a little bit, man. This was a fun fight from start to finish. Wire to wire action. What do you make of the photo, AJ?
Man, very fun fight, literally the whole way, and a pretty demoralizing loss for Perrin, but a great fight for Bautista. And this is this jumping knee that he's throwing up, man. This was at what 4 or 5 different times happened in the fight, so much that he was even fainting the jumping knee, and Perrin was flinching the entire time. You could tell even if he landed it once, it was going to be hurting. Great fight, man, and I'm excited to see Bautista fight in the future, man. This dude has a lot of talent coming in, very spry, spunky. You know, he's got all the, like we were saying before, got all the intangibles needed. Just if we can see a little bit more, it's going to be fun to watch this dude grow up in the UFC.
I absolutely agree with you, folks. So listen, hey, man, that is the photo collection right there, AJ. Like I said, man, this was just a good night of fight. 7 finishes, one more time in 13 bouts, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, only 1 split decision overall on the card. That was a main card fight we'll talk about in a second. 2 upsets, Jim Miller, Stephanie Egger. Once again, no fight of the night. Folks, drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And for those who are avid listeners, watchers of this program, we do have a little bit of a programming change that I need to announce. It's nothing crazy, but we're just mixing up the order of doing things. So instead of doing rankings, review, fighter of the night first, we're going to talk about the main card, then we're going to do all that stuff at the end. So let's jump straight into it, AJ. Let's get to some main card recap, brother.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. Okay, brother, so it is time to break down the main card, and what better way to start than with the first bout of the main card, man. Listen, this is a little reminiscent of Goku and Vegeta after a massive battle right here. These are 2 warriors who are the definition of leaving it all in the cage, man. You have Alhassan, you have Buckley on their backs, dead tired after the fight. This was actually a 3rd round where Abdul Razak Alhassan made a little bit of a comeback and had a little more in the tank than we anticipated, because Buckley was looking fresh until he wasn't. Like, he just gassed out just like randomly in the 3rd round immediately, but he was trying to push the pace. He was trying to wrestle. That is clearly the game plan to stopping the offensive prowess of an Abdul Razak Alhassan. What did you make of this fight overall, brother? Do you agree that Buckley got the nod or deserved the nod in this split decision? Because some people weren't very happy with it.
I thought so, man. I gave Buckley the first 2 rounds. Alhassan definitely came back with that 3rd, and I was surprised with how much of a gas tank he actually had on him. And I'm happy you put this photo in, Derick. In fact, when I saw this one going on, I knew. I was like, oh yeah, this one's making the cut for sure. Because if you've ever been there and left it all out there, that's the position, man. That's what that's like natural, where you go. So it's crazy to see both of them doing that. Because even, what I have in the notes, man, the muscles look nice until you start to use them and you get dog shit tired, and then you find yourself on the back of the canvas breathing with the homie, No, good fight, man. Great fight for the 2. Just seeing that they were able to do stuff outside of their shells, outside of what we were normally expecting. Great for both fighters to be going forward, man. And there was a point, I think you're right, Derick. There was a point in the 3rd where Buckley just forced a muscle. You can hear him grunt one, like to get Alhassan off his back or off him somehow. And then after that, just completely gassed himself out, super tired. And he gave Alhassan the time to kind of come back, get this fight going, kind of win a little bit more. I could see where people were thinking. I guess it all depends on how you score rounds 1 and round 2. I definitely had him for Buckley. I don't know about you, Derick, but I definitely had Alhassan, winning that 3rd round and kind of running away with it a little bit, but the gas tank at the end of the day, both dudes were dog shit tired. A very fun fight either way. Alhassan only needs 1, but if this dude didn't depend on that, he could find the 1. It's just he knows he's depending on that 1 big shot, unfortunately.
It's when you fall in love with the power, man. It's a blessing and a curse. And I will just say that the story of the fight seemed to be speed, man. Buckley, footwork, speed. He was just a step quicker than Alhassan the whole fight until it went to the wrestling, to the grappling, where Alhassan, let's not forget, he's a black belt in judo, man. So it's like he used some of that judo. He used a couple of those head and arm tosses. He used some of that cage work right there to get an advantage on Buckley. But Buckley had some great sprawls, showed off some pretty good, just wrestling IQ overall. But I just think that Buckley is going to continue to be a problem against these big, heavy plotter knockout punchers because he's able to use the head work, head movement and footwork to be able to get in, get out unscathed for the most part, because he did eat a couple of bombs, a lot of things deflecting off of his head. But I mean, you can't walk through the rain and not get wet, folks. So that's the story of Joaquin Buckley versus Abdul Razak Alhassan. Overall, these dudes were very similar in terms of their fighting styles, their fighting approaches, and in terms of their ranking, man. So it's interesting to see where Joaquin Buckley will go from here. But I do think that this was a substantial win. Like, this is not something that you should overlook. A win is a win is a win. And Buckley is quietly moving up the rankings. I think he avenged his last loss against Teixeira, right? That head kick loss. He avenged it. But the interesting note that I wanted to take away from here, AJ, this is the 4th decision win of Buckley's career. So he's showing that he can get it done over 15 minutes. How important do you think that's going to be in the trajectory of his career?
Very important, man. The fact that this dude knows he can do it, and even if that 3rd round he did lose a little bit of steam, still knowing in the fact that you can get that done has held a lot of resolve in yourself. When you have a little bit more of that confidence that okay, I can dump the gas tank and I can still make it 15, or I can still get these knockouts back to back. I still got power in these hands. It bodes very, very well for Buckley in the future. And this dude, I mean, he's had a little bit of ups and downs, but I like the fact that he's able to go 15. It's always been one of his biggest, asterisks or worry marks that you're looking at Buckley. We always say he doesn't have the gas tank, but the fact that he can go with those 15, man, is really, really looking good for Buckley in the future. What you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And I will say the sole over-under that you did get correct was this fight, man. You picked the over. I don't know how you predicted it, man, because I did not see it going that way. But the over, sometimes it's like when you hype it up too much, oh, someone's got to go to sleep, right? And then it goes to a decision. And then you're like, oh, okay, whatever. 5 takedowns for Buckley, 3 for Alhassan. It was a great fight. I'd love to see where both of these fighters go into the future. AJ, man, I am happy to announce A10 still got them hands, brother. I mean, I don't know how else you want me to put it. Jim Miller is not someone to be played with. We both picked for Jim Miller. We both looked at the odds and said, what the fuck are the odds makers doing right here? Lest we forget, it was a plus 110 to minus 140 opening odds in favor of Nikolas Motta going into this fight, and I think he closed as an even higher favorite. I don't know what Jim Miller needs to do these days to get some respect on his name, to garner the respect over a dude who had 0 fights in the UFC, right? Jim Miller had only, 30-something, 33 fights in the UFC, and Motta had 0, so I'm just going to put that out there. But the method of victory is the thing that is continuing to surprise me, man. Not only does Jim Miller tie Cowboy Cerrone for most wins in the UFC's all-time record book at 23, but he's coming off of back-to-back knockout wins. Has the man fallen in love with his hands, AJ? Is Jim Miller the new renowned knockout artist? What are we talking about here, brother?
Jim Miller got those stones for hands, brother. I don't know, man. It's another one of those fountain of youth things that we see kind of happening now, where everybody's expecting, even the odds makers are expecting Jim Miller to be, put out to pasture. But ain't the case when A10's in the building, brother. This dude is coming back. I don't know. Like I was watching this fight. Crazy, almost flabbergasted, because that blitz that Jim Miller has very dangerous, but Motta was starting to catch him. He was starting to catch him, and then Jim Miller switches up the stance, comes in with that big right hand, drops a bomb. I believe it was a right check hook, or right. Either way, he dropped the bomb on him, and Motta just out. Like, he didn't even know. He tried to get up, run away a little bit, fell into the cage. Motta was out, and just, I mean, how can you do the boy dirty, Jim Miller? Like you said, Derek, this was the biggest gap in UFC, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like fights,
it's the biggest discrepancy in between experience for UFC fighters. It was 33 for Jim Miller or something like that. 30 something for Jim Miller, 0 for Motta. This is the biggest experience gap we've seen in the UFC thus far.
And the disrespect, like how and he's an underdog. Like, damn, I don't know, man. This is crazy. I don't know what Jim Miller has to do, to be 4 more knockouts, so they're probably still going to be counting this dude out.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. But if you watch this program, folks, you cashed in on a live underdog right there, man. We said it. Like, this was probably one of our more confident picks right here, and I felt the same way against Jim Miller and Eric Gonzalez in his last fight. Knockout. What more do we have to say? Put some respect on A10 Jim Miller's name. Last question that I have for you right here, man, as this was one of 2 upsets on the entire card. I just want to ask you, man, Jim Miller, we were talking about Andrei Arlovsky, right, having the most all-time UFC fights or UFC wins at the end of the day. Like, we're going to have him outpacing everybody else. But I guess I forgot about Jim Miller, because it's like, if he continues at the rate that he's at, man, he's taking very little to no damage in these fights, and he's racking up the wins, racking up the knockouts. Jim Miller, I mean, he might solidify himself as the biggest, baddest, most winningest UFC fighter of all time. Do you see that happening? Do you anticipate that happening? Or do you still think Andre Arlovski has a fair bid to make that happen?
I don't know, man. Jim he's looking good to be taking that title. This dude's thinking about UFC 300. Not only, did he fight on 100 and 200, this dude's looking for 300. That's crazy. What we at right now? 260, 262, 260.
It's going to be 272 for the next one.
272. 25 more fights, whatever the case is, a little bit more. This dude, that's a good amount of time for him to get some more fights in. It's going to be interesting to see if he does make it. Jim Miller could easily run away with this one. And it's crazy for the style of fighter that he is to be not taking as much damage as he is, because we've seen a lot of these fighters as they get older, they start working that ground game a little bit more, start kind of laying on top. Not Jim Miller, bro. This dude's throwing hands.
Not Jim Miller. Once again, reporting alert. A10 got them hands, folks. Y'all must have forgot. All right, brother. Listen, Parker Porter, he gets a UD win against Alan Baudot. And this was a fun fight, AJ. This was a back-and-forth grinder of a fight. And we had to see Parker Porter do something that he doesn't normally do too often, or at least we haven't seen him do too often. And he had to wrestle. He had to wrestle him up. He had to use all of his mixed martial arts prowess to get the win against Alan Baudot. But this was still a good showing for the... I'm forgetting the name, but he's fighting out of Paris, right out of there with Cyril Gahn and all of them fight. MMA Factory, I believe, for the MMA Factory fighter, fighting under Fernand Lopez. But listen, man, Parker Porter is the story of the day today. Moves to 3-1 in the UFC, third win in a row, and he's shown that he can really be this decision fighter. But that's the other part of the coin right there, AJ, being this decision fighter. All you will see on Twitter while this fight was happening was like, wow, the momentum of this card was really great until these heavyweights got in here and, slowed the whole entire card down. Do you think that a win is a win is a win in this situation, which it is, it always is, but as a heavyweight, you still got to entertain, and I don't see Parker Porter being anything more than a prelim fighter at this rate fighting the way that he's fighting. What do you think?
I can see where you're coming from on that. What was it, the normal, exciting Parker Porter fight that we're used to? This dude standing toe-to-toe, swinging and banging in a phone booth? Not necessarily. But did he do the smart thing to get the win? Because Alan Baudot had them hands. Yeah. Alan Baudot was piecing him up, and he got bloodied up a little bit. And that just, to me, sure, it wasn't the most exciting dog fight we were expecting to see. But when I saw that Baudot, started piecing him, started kind of catching up in that second round, Porter hit a switch and was like, okay, well, it's time to get the win. Like, I'm not going to get the win this way, so I'm going to get the win this way. I think it's a good call. I mean, I have all respect to Parker Porter on that one, because that's hard, man. That's hard to do. You're in the middle of the fight. Everybody's kind of not on your side. You're used to throwing his hands. And you think, oh, shit, this dude's piecing me up. I got to change game plans. Most people can't do that. So I liked the fight. I didn't think it was boring at all, even though it was a little bit more grappling heavy than I like to watch. I still think it was a good scrap. And I mean, also a good showing for Baudot, because like I said, he's got those hands too, man. He was using that length. Sure, it didn't work out too well in the first round, but second and third, he really started to come back a little bit.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, I was on the edge of my seat for the entirety of this fight. Like, this was a very good fight, but in the eyes of the casual viewers, in the eyes of putting asses in seats, I just felt like this didn't really put him over the top. Now, Parker Porter was the shorter reach and the shorter stature fighter. He had to get in on the taller, longer Alan Baudot, so that's obviously a chess match in and of itself. Like, watching that puzzle in real time was a beautiful thing to see, because he made a lot of adjustments, did a lot of wrestling, shot for a lot of doubles when Alan Baudot had some great sprawls, man, great hips. But once again, man, in the eyes of the casuals, they just see, oh, these are two heavyweights. They're supposed to knock each other out. So what's happening here? We didn't get a knockout. We got a decision win. Another one on the board for Parker Porter. But once again, a win is a win is a win. And the man is quietly 3-1 in the UFC, my man. So he lost his UFC debut. But besides that, he's getting the job done. So this was a big win by Parker Porter. And I do anticipate to see him on another prelim bout in the future, probably next up very soon. All right, AJ. Kyle Daukaus versus Jamie Pickett. This was a 195-pound catchweight fight, folks. So we apologize because we did not report that going into this fight. But this was also a short notice on 2 weeks' notice for Jamie Pickett type opportunity. And listen, AJ, I'm not the type I'm not going to rub it in on none of that type of stuff, right? But we did say going into this fight last week, listen, he fought Kevin Holland. We saw what he was able to do against him. Yes, it ended in a no contest. This Jamie Pickett, this is not the same caliber of fighter. this should still be a good scrap, but this is clearly not the same caliber. And we saw that most definitely, right? Kyle Daukaus, they clinch up a little bit, right? Kyle Daukaus gets him where he wants to get him in the grappling range. Next thing you know, he says, hey, I'm the Darce King. 6 Darces on my resume, brother. Tony Ferguson, where you at? Like, it was just like that. And the beauty of the 1 second left buzzer beater, we got to talk about it, AJ. It was impressive that Jamie Pickett was able to hold out as long as he was able to, but I know the feeling of tapping with literally 1-2 seconds left. And I'll tell you, most people that you talk to would rather have been choked to sleep on live TV than to have tapped with 1 second left. You can forgive yourself for falling asleep to a choke. It's hard to forgive yourself for tapping with 1 second left. Let's dive into the mind of a Jamie Pickett. Let's dive into the psychology of a Jamie Pickett or of a fighter who undergoes that type of circumstance. Where do you think he's at mentally right now? What lessons does he take from this fight? What do you make of the situation?
Man, I honestly don't think he's going to take a backward step from this, man. I think this is a growing part for him. Yes, is it rough quitting on yourself with 1 second left? 100%. But if you've ever been in there and world starting to cave in on you, everything's going a little bit black. You hear your coach say 10 seconds. You're like, okay, I'll count in my head 10 seconds. I got this. I can't get out. Like, I've tried to get out. I'm here. I'm stuck. All right, cool. It should be about 10 seconds now. You're thinking, oh no, you're down a very little blackness around your sight around you, and you still got 5 seconds left. It's hard, man. That's the longest 10 seconds of your life. So I don't discredit Pickett for that one, man. This is a very hard way to lose. So I hope he learns from it, man. I hope he takes the lessons that he was taught. Because in this fight, it was basically Kyle Daukaus just dominating and running away with it, doing what he wanted to do at will. And there's levels to this game. And not saying that Jamie Pickett can't jump levels up, once he learns from this and kind of grows a little bit, he'll be there eventually. But I mean, Daukaus he was on point, and he had the whole fight card, whole fight camp going forward. So it was a real uphill battle for Pickett. But man, that's rough. If you've ever been there, and like you said, you see the darkness creeping in on you, it's hard to not just want to get out. So I don't discredit Jamie Pickett at all for that.
No, I mean, listen, it's easier said than done. Nobody wants to be in that spot. It's more of the lesson of, because like I said, I've done it to myself before, and I can't tell you how frustrated I've been with myself saying, like, 1 second left. Really? You couldn't hold out for one more second? Are you serious? And then you start questioning who you are as a person until you say, all right, man, at the end of the day, it's not wins and losses. Well, it is. It's obviously a loss on the board for him. But, like, if you view it as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, at least, it's like, at the end of this, did I tap? Yes, I did, but that just means it's the end of that round. That was that learning lesson. Let's move on to the next one. And I think Jamie Pickett will take it in stride, honestly. It hasn't been the best start to his UFC tenure thus far, and he took a risk, and it didn't pay out for him this time, but the company is going to be happy with him. He's now 2-3 in the UFC, so it's not like he's really drowning by any stretch of the imagination, but this was just a tough matchup. That's really as simple as that, man. For Kyle Daukaus, on the other hand, because he is the victor in this pursuit, this was as impressive as you can get, man. I just don't know what Kyle Daukaus can learn from this, because I believe he's a newly minted black belt, right? So he just gets his black belt. He wins the fight via submission in the first round. He does learn, hey, if I hold on to that choke, never say never. Maybe I can get him to quit. That's what he got the job done. But we need to see a little more of the other aspects of Kyle Daukaus' game to really see how well he'll do in the future. My question to you on this one, AJ, is listen, does this win bump his stock? Did he do what he was supposed to do? What are we taking from Kyle Daukaus in this fight?
Does it bump his stock? Like, unfortunately, not that much. Yeah. Yes, did he look good in a versus an opponent who wasn't necessarily as ready or as prepared for the fight? Yeah, he did. He looked really good. The hands look crisp. Obviously, he got it on the inside, did what all of us knew he was going to do, shoot for the takedown, get the submission. It's kind of his game. But did it bump him up a lot? Not necessarily. And Pickett isn't necessarily the jiu-jitsu practitioner that where this would have been like, damn, he got a Darce on Jamie Pickett. Like, nobody's saying that. So does it bump him up? A little bit, but not necessarily. Even though you can't discredit Kyle Daukaus for taking the fight at 195. Because it was Jamie Pickett, obviously, on the short notice. So should it still count towards the rankings? Yeah, a little bit. But not, even then, Jamie Pickett's so far down, it doesn't really bump you up that much. So absolutely. I think biggest thing for Kyle Daukaus was just a payday.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and we'll take it, right? It's going to take that 5 to 7 days out of the week. I'll say that, man. Last thing that I got for you right here is, what do you make of Kyle Daukaus calling out Tony Ferguson? I mean, cool on one hand because it's a legend. It's the Dark Knight right there. That's his new nickname. Very lame promo. I'm sorry, Daukaus, but you got to get it together, brother. But I mean, I appreciate you shooting your shot. But this is really my key takeaway. You call out a legend, yes, but you call out a dude who is fighting at 155 and a top 10 fighter at 155. And you're an 185-pound fighter. So, like, I was like, okay, like, yeah, I got you, but, like, are you going to make a cut down to at least 170 to try to make it kind of fair? Or what are we doing calling out this tiny guy? Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And right when I heard the promo, I always thought about that one Tony Ferguson versus they were doing I forget the name of the guy. I can see him right now too. Where they were doing a promo, an interview, and in Spanish, Tony Ferguson, like, calm down, bro. Like, I'll tap you out. And it was against another, like, 205er. I forget the name, man. But, I mean, El Cucuy's down. Yeah. Cucuy's down to scrap. So it'd be interesting. I didn't really you could tell even Daukaus laughed as he was doing the call out. So, it was going to be something a little corny, a little cheesy. I mean, all credit for shooting your shot. I mean, you have to. You don't want to waste your time. There's been a couple of the fighters who they got on there, and Uncle Chael said it best. If you don't care about who you're going to fight or what's next for you, why should we care? So I think at least in that aspect, Daukaus is putting something out, which you got to love. But damn, was that corny, man. That is, and not, I mean, the Dark Knight, okay, I get the pun. I get it, yeah, all right, cool, man.
Enough said. We'll just leave it at that one. Big win by Kyle Daukaus, and we'll move on to the next one, brother. Main event. Listen, my man, I just got to pull this photo up, and I apologize in advance, but Jesus Christ, my man. I mean, for those who are listening, this is the aftermath of Jamahal Hill saying sweet dreams to Johnny Walker and putting him out with a shot that you only see in video games and cartoons and movies, brother. Like, he literally made Johnny Walker, he hit Johnny Walker so hard that Johnny Walker fell asleep, stood up, and then fell over like an Eiffel Tower falling over, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was incredible. I'm not going to keep this photo up too much longer. I'm just going to pull it down just because that's how violent of a performance this was. But AJ, I can't doubt Jamahal Hill any longer. There's nothing else that I can say at this point. I will get it out of the way. I got to eat some crow. I was wrong. I said Jamahal Hill until I see you use your left hand. I cannot in confidence choose you to continue to win these fights. And once again, does he get a knockout with the left hand? No, he uses the right. Maybe he doesn't need the left hand. Maybe the left hand is overrated, even though he's a southpaw. But AJ, if there was one way for Jamahal Hill to win this fight, he did it exactly the one way that he was going to win this fight. And my thought was, Johnny Walker, he's a madman, he's eccentric, wild entries, he throws these long, big combinations, and when he throws the big combinations, he leaves himself open. There's a lot of holes in his striking game, and Jamahal Hill could be the tactician and just get in there. And that's literally like exactly what happened. However, AJ, my question to you on this, had that punch, that right hand, not knocked out Johnny Walker, I mean, it felt like the momentum was leaning Walker's way in this fight. You saw Jamahal Hill, he had the Popeye arm. He might have gotten a broken ulna by trying to block Johnny Walker's head kicks with one arm, which is a terrible thing to do. However, a win is a win is a win. He devastated this man. Like, he flatlined him. He flattened him out, stiffened him like a board, the whole entire nine. Does Johnny Walker win this fight if that knockout punch didn't occur 10 out of 10 times? I think we asked this last week, right? And I think you had said like 7 out of 10 times Jamahal Hill wins or something. Do you still agree with that after watching this performance?
Man, I mean, I was a little surprised at how good Johnny Walker was doing. I had him winning the fight, bro. Yeah. I had him running away with it, doing well, and then you get clipped. So, that's kind of the name of the game. But I thought it was with the mix up of things Johnny Walker was doing, staying long, using those kicks, staying at range, and then getting on the inside on the clinch, probably going to work some ground game. If this fight got a little bit longer, might have been a smart idea for him to do before getting clipped. But this was a very impressive fight for both people, man. Yeah. I think it raised both people's stock. And even though Walker did get knocked out, it was still a very impressive fight until that. Like I said, I had him winning until he got clipped. But the fact that this dude, different, still evolving as a fighter is Johnny Walker, which is a very dangerous thing. And even more credit to Jamahal Hill. Like, I obviously got the win. I was already rooting for him in the beginning. So I'm happy over here. I'm happy with the win. But I was very surprised with how well Johnny Walker was doing in the fight, man. Dude looked like had that little bit of chaos, still that wild man we like to see, but a little bit more of a tactician. I think Johnny Walker is kind of getting into his own right to be one of a really good fighter coming forward, man.
Absolutely. And Jamahal Hill even said, he was all like, y'all might think that he's just this swing and bang crazy fighter, but he was trying to set me up in there. And that's exactly what Johnny Walker was doing. He was trying to circle Jamahal Hill into the head kick. Like it was a beautiful thing to witness. But at the end of the day, we saw the same holes in the offensive game of Johnny Walker, which is the recklessness, which is what you need. But being reckless leaves you open. And when Jamahal Hill hits you, clearly you go to sleep. Like he literally said sweet dreams to Johnny Walker on that one. Impressive showing. But I think it's very clear at this point, if there's one way you're going to beat Jamahal Hill, you got to take him to the ground. You got to get that ground game going. You got to try to mitigate whatever he can do offensively, because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Like when he lands, what is going to happen to you? Now, for Johnny Walker, though, man, once again, 10 out of 10 times, or out of 10 times, how many times does Jamahal Hill win this fight? Because, I mean, Johnny Walker was doing the things. He was doing all the things that you needed to do to be well-rounded at that point. But I will say, I almost saw the knockout coming, because you saw Jamahal Hill crush the space. Next thing you know, Johnny Walker, his back is against the cage. He's like, yo, what is going on here? Like, why am I back here? And then he gets slumped. So out of 10 times, give me the number.
Man, I'm still rocking with that 7. You know, okay. If that is the number I said before. I do think because it's hard if you're setting stuff up like that, it's hard to not find that, especially when you got the power like Hill does. Yeah. He clipped him on the top of the temple, bro. Most people, you're looking for that chin, button chin. But that one on the temple works too, man. You can put him out.
How, in terms of power, right? We have our Chaos Williams, we have our Miguel Baezas, we have our, you know what I mean? Obviously, we're not going to talk heavyweights and stuff like that, but we have these type of fighters who it's like, if they touch you, good luck, right? Is Jamahal Hill slowly but surely like climbing up that ranking of like, if he touches you, man, that's it. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I'm almost wondering if this dude is a righty that fights switch stance,
Yeah.
He's got power in that lead hand, which most people don't. Most people are very awkward with their lead hand. Yeah. This dude's got power in both. And what's crazy, he doesn't have, like, we look back on, like, the Alhassan or Buckley. Those dudes are thick. But then you look at, Jamahal Hill, this dude's normal body shape, not super jacked, but he has the tendons and the muscular strength and the style to be dropping bombs. Yeah, very impressive and unassumingly strong too.
He kind of gives me like that like Deontay Wilder vibe for his power, you know what I'm saying? Like he has that just unassuming, but if he touches you, just that's it. You get demolished. So huge win by Jamahal Hill, man. It's going to be interesting to see where he can go from here, because in all honesty, Paul Craig is ahead of him in the rankings. Paul Craig thoroughly destroyed him when they fought. So does Jamahal Hill deserve to be above him? I don't know. Maybe we'll get into a little bit of a rankings review. We'll see. All right, AJ, brother, that is the main card recap, folks. It was a lot of fun fights overall on the main card. We had, 3 finishes, 2 knockouts, 1 submission, 1 unanimous decision, and 1 split decision. Only 1 upset overall on the main card. That was Jim Miller. Jamahal Hill, he moves to 4-1 and 1 no contest in the UFC, and 6 of his 10 wins are via knockout. So, and I mean, listen, man, unless you get him to the ground, start grappling him up, it's going to be a long night, or maybe I should say a short night. Sweet dreams for you. We'll just say that. All right, AJ, once again, with this programming review, we're going to do a little bit different, and let's jump into a little bit of a rankings review, brother. And I did a little bit of foreshadowing, but we're talking about Jamahal Hill, 205er right here, brother. So let's jump straight into it, my man. In the 205-pound division, Jamahal Hill currently is ranked number 12. And this is my whole entire dilemma right here, AJ. Let me set up the table. Paul Craig, when they fought 2 fights ago, thoroughly destroyed him in this fight, man. Got him to the ground, had his arm flopping around like a fish, TKO'd him. The ref let the fight go on way too long, and it was just pure damage and carnage and destruction by Paul Craig. Now, was this to be expected? I picked for Jamahal Hill in this fight because I thought the hands were going to be a little bit too much. He talks about how he grew up in jiu-jitsu, but Paul Craig is a specialist. He's a different animal, and it's okay. A loss is a loss. A loss is a lesson, and Jamahal Hill clearly learned, we're not letting the fight go to the ground. I'm knocking these dudes out. Cool. But all the talk you're hearing is, oh, who's next for Jamahal Hill? Is it Volkan Ozdemir, who is currently number 8 at 205? Is it Dominic Reyes, who's currently number 6 at 205? He wants to fight against Yuri Prochazka, who's about to challenge for the title, ranked to number 2 right now, right? Yes, did Yuri Prochazka take a little bit of a shortcut to the title? Absolutely. Did he have some huge, devastating wins? Absolutely. So, I mean, it's kind of fair there against high-level opponents. Jamahal Hill's highest level opponent to this date in terms of getting a win right now is Johnny Walker, who is currently number 10. If we do the MMA logic game and we say, okay, he beat number 10, he takes number 10. Where does Paul Craig fit into this equation? Because I think he's getting the short end of the stick right here. Yes, does he have a shorter shelf life in terms of his MMA career? I believe so. Paul Craig, I think he has kind of hinted at, I only got a couple more fights left in me type, right? Because he wants to make a run at the title. So you have Jamahal Hill, the young gun, who, is going to be around for a while. Paul Craig is probably going to be making an exit in the near-ish future. You can't just skip the line here, brother. I'm sorry. I'm trying to play it fair. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and you get what you earn. Nothing is given, only earned. Has Jamahal Hill earned a top 10 designation in front of Paul Craig at this point?
I mean, is he a top 10 fighter? Probably. Does he deserve it above Paul Craig? Nah. If you lose to a guy in a devastating fashion, like you said, has your arm flopping around like a fish, nah, you don't earn that, man. It's hard though, because I feel like he's going to. I feel like he's going to. Maybe not in my ranking, maybe not in your ranking, but in the UFC ranking, I definitely feel like he's getting a little bit more rub. And I mean, I'm with you. I don't think people should be cutting the line. I think you need to earn your way up. You need to fight for those spots. You need to be taking people out left and right to be actually earning your shot up to the top. But unfortunately, that's not really the way sometimes the matchmakers see it. Sometimes they like giving the rub to a guy a little bit more than another guy. It's just, especially when those guys are throwing hands and not necessarily always looking for the choke. So do I think that Jamahal Hill deserves that spot above Paul Craig? No. Is Jamahal Hill a top 10 fighter though? Yes. So it does. I can see the juxtaposition where you come from and kind of the inner battle that you're having, Derick. Because I mean, Jamahal Hill is an amazing fighter, but just the way the things are shaking up and out within the rankings, it's an interesting one to see how it's going to go, man. What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, I agree in your assessment that he's probably legitimately a top 10 fighter, probably a top 8 fighter, really, at this point, if we're being honest about it. But that's just my thing is, well, if you can't get past the number 11 fighter, but you can get past the number 10 fighter, styles make fights. Clearly, that is the name of the game. But I think that some rankings need to be adjusted. And I, for one, I have Jamahal Hill ranked to number 10 in my own personal rankings right now. You have him ranked number 10 as well. So clearly we agree. And this is before the fight happened. You know what I mean? I have Johnny Walker ranked number 15. So the way I see it, I already had Jamahal Hill being kind of the favorite in this fight. However, I have Paul Craig at number 9, so I just don't know if I have it within me, if my moral compass will be steered in the wrong direction to be able to get Jamahal Hill in front of him. Because I think Paul Craig, though he hasn't had as impressive wins necessarily, not as devastating. I think that's the thing that kind of catapults a Jamahal Hill over the top, is that the way that he knocked out Johnny Walker makes you just ooh and ah, and that's what gets you the points that makes you that top 10 fighter. But at the end of the day, if Paul Craig and Jamahal Hill fought again, who wins?
I mean, I think Paul Craig snaps him again, brother. It's just that's the bear juice style. That's the last thing Jamahal Hill wants, is that ground game attack, because when Johnny Walker was winning the fights most, it was in the clinch. Also at range with the kicks. I mean, the kicks were working for sure. But when he was up close in the clinch, you could tell that Jamahal Hill wasn't in his comfort zone. Yeah. And I was looking at the rankings right now. You got Ankalaev, Krylov, Paul Craig, all right above Jamahal Hill in my rankings. I think all three of those dudes beat Hill. And then you got Rakic. I think he does. Maybe, we get Reyes in there. We'll see how he does. That's another one. But I think all those ones up above, they have that ground game aspect to utilize, which is a big hole in Hill's game. So where does he go? Can he beat those dudes above? It's a little rough.
Yeah, but you never know, man. Maybe it was a rough night at the office against Paul Craig that first time. Maybe it'd be a different showing. Maybe he wouldn't let Paul Craig get to his legs this next time. But it's a game of what if at this point, because we haven't seen it and we've yet to see it. And I just want to know, where would you solidify Jamahal Hill in terms of a number ranking right now, even in your own? Is he fine staying at number 10 for you? Do you think he deserves a couple spots up? I mean, you have do you even have Johnny Walker in your rankings? You don't even have Johnny Walker in your 15. Rankings. Oh, he is. Oh, damn. I can't read. Okay, number 15. So we're both in the same boat. Number 15. We have Jamahal Hill at number 10. Where does he go?
I see. I think I solidify him in that top 10 spot for me personally, because there's a couple fighters above him where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that'd make a more interesting fight, like the Thiago Santos fight. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. But I expect him to jump up above a Paul Craig or Magomed Ankalaev? Not necessarily, not yet. Anyway, maybe soon.
Okay. My last thing, I will just say it's impressive that Jamahal Hill was able to knock out Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos couldn't. I'll just say that. So that is your 60 seconds rankings review, folks. We're just putting it out there. But AJ, outside of the rankings review, we got another segment that's very important here, and we need to talk about it, brother. Fighter of the night. Let's get it.
Right now, there is not a man in this planet that can stop me inside this octagon. The celebration is more work than the fight.
Fighter of the night. Okay, brother, there's a lot of people we could choose from here on the docket, man. Whether you're talking about the Stephanie Eggers of the world, whether you're talking about the Chad Angeligers, or I apologize if I terribly butchered your name, brother, but you had a big win. Shout out to you. Whether it's the JSPs, the Mario Batistas, the Kyle Daukases, the Jim Millers, man, I just listed off about 7 names where you could have gone fighter of the night respectively for any of them. But this time around, my man, we need to lock it down to just one, and I want to know for you, my man, who stood out? Intangibles, performance, the whole entire 9, the storyline, all interwoven into one to not make the fight of the night. We already got that. We didn't even have one this weekend, but we got a fighter of the night for sure. Distinctive to this program, brother. Who you got for UFC Vegas 48?
Man, Derick, the people you listed out, there's a lot of them, man. You could have gone a lot of different ways, and full transparency, folks, I had to rewatch a couple of these fights because I was at work getting it. So when I was watching, man, I just tuned in right at the Parker Porter fight, so I was able to watch the end, in real time. And I was like, man, Kyle Daukaus, he's putting on a performance. He's out here looking good. Jamahal Hill, he's got the KOs. And then I rewatched everything else, when I get home, while I do my stuff, rewatch the rest of the fights. And how can I not choose A10 Jim Miller as my fight of the night, man? This dude, putting on, still got them hands, still living the dangerous lifestyle of the fighter that likes to throw combos back and forth, sitting in the pocket. A10 Jim Miller, dude. The drinking from the fountain of youth. We talked about the disparity and experience. We said that there's so many intangibles that A10 Jim Miller had. I don't see how this dude can be underlooked by anybody, but it's probably still going to happen. And, man, I was just blown away that this dude's still getting knockouts. I don't even have his age listed, but we know he's an old dog in the game and still taking people's necks, man. I couldn't see how I couldn't choose Jim Miller for my fighter of the night because of his impressive win, but the fact that he's still doing it at the age, still getting overlooked by a lot of people, still getting thrown to the new dogs. They're trying to put the old dog out to pasture, but Jim Miller says, fuck no, I'm here to scrap. I'm here to knock people out, take people's heads, and I'm going to make it to UFC 300. Putting that out there, I love it, man. I love the fact that he's still thinking about the future. And like I said, for a dangerous fighter in the style that he likes, that's a very impressive feat. Drinking from the fountain youth, A10 Jim Miller, you were my fighter of the night. And it was exciting, and I loved watching him fight last night, man. What do you think, Derick?
Well, I will say the prime age of 38 years old is A10 Jim Miller, my man. So he's doing it at the same age that, Arlovsky's 42 years old, right? And he's outpacing Arlovsky right now. Come on, what are we talking about, bro? I will say that is, an easy lock for fight of the night for Jim Miller. And I'm going in the same cloth as you, brother, but I'm rocking with Chaz Skelly. Come on, man. This is the OGs. He's getting a little bit of rub and getting a little bit of shine here on the program, folks. And I just wanted to talk about Chaz Skelly real fast because, one, going out in glory is something that few fighters have been able to manage in their MMA career, right? Father Time is undefeated for a reason. Most people, you leave because you're coming off of a loss. And even if you do think it's truly time to hang it up, Chaz Skelly said it himself, it looks bad because you're coming off a loss, so people will assume, oh, you're retiring because you lost. The best way to go out is on a win. The best way to go out is on your terms. The best thing to do is only worry about what you can control. And if there was one thing that Chaz Skelly was able to control, it was his fate, it was his destiny, and it was able to walk away with a knockout. Once again, his first knockout win since 2015. He fought a chinny opponent, his words, not mine, and Mark Striegel. Got the job done. listen, man, this is a grappler. This is a long, lanky fighter who is leaving a lot on the table, if we're being honest, in terms of this early-ish retirement, because Chaz Skelly, who is 36 years old, I mean, he's coming off a win against Jordan Griffin. He got the win against Mark Striegel. He's got a win against Chris Grutzmacher. I mean, listen, he has wins over Sean Soriano. You know, it's not the most recognizable names because when he has lost to the damaged Darren Elkins. He has lost to the Jason Knights of the world. But when he has won, he has done it in a blue-collar fashion, in a stay out of the spotlight, I'll just collect my win, collect my money, and take it back home. And if there's anyone who is, or if there's any trait that is admirable about an MMA fighter, I believe that is it. The humble fighter who gets the job done, goes home back to his family, still has his 9-to-5 roofing company that he's still, handling business. So imagine you get into a roofing contractor dispute with this guy and he decides he wants to knock your fucking block off, right? All this is just to say the love that I got to show to Chaz Skelly transcends his performance here tonight and is more of a nod to his MMA career and the persona that he has put on and the message that he has shown put on full display for the rest of us who watch at home that say, like, listen, man, you don't got to be this character. You don't got to be this Dale Brown, this Colby Covington in order to be a well-known and well-renowned fighter in Chaz Skelly, man. To me, he's very reminiscent of the Roxanne Modafferi's of the world, except he was a lot more winning. He won a lot more fights than Roxanne did, and he's still not getting half of the love that Roxanne did. So it just goes to show, underappreciated, overperformed many times. Chaz Skelly, you're my fighter of the night. Jim Miller, that's your fighter of the night, brother. If anything, I think that we should be taken away from both of our fighter of the night this entire segment is that don't write off an old dog. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? And who says that Father Time is undefeated? Because Chaz Skelly and Jim Miller are proving him wrong a little bit, brother. What do you make of it?
I'm glad you went with the Chaz Skelly pick, Derick, because you're right. There's a lot to be learned from, a lot to admire in that kind of somebody who's willing to put their nose to the grindstone, work hard day in, day out, and stay there, and also stay humble. Not be clout chasing, not be out there trying to bark with the big dogs. Trying to get the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Man, Chaz Skelly's making his own grease out there. He's getting his own rub, and I love the fact that he's still out there doing it, man. Yeah, great pick, man. I really like it.
Absolutely. So, folks, that is your fighter of the night. And now we got a little bit of business to take care of. So, AJ, we talked about basically the majority of our segments, but we do need to talk about a little bit of matchmaking, man. Where do the main card winners go? That is the question that we need to ask. But before we do that, folks, once again, drop a like, subscribe, hit us up at bloodywaterpodcast.com. You can hit us up on Instagram at bloodywaterpodcast or on Twitter at bloodywaterpod. But what's most important is the thing that I mention basically all the time is that you rate us 5 stars on your respective podcasting application on your iPhone, on your smartphone, whatever the case may be. And if you don't want to do that, just subscribe to us on YouTube and share the channel with your friends. Share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram. But either way, a share is a share, and we'll take it just like a win is a win is a win. So you know what time it is. All right, AJ, when we're talking about matchmaking, I wanted to start off on the bottom, and I wanted to start off with Numansa, Joaquin Buckley. Like I said, he edged out, Abdul Razak Alhassan. It was a good win, but it's kind of unclear to me where he goes because even though it was a good win, it was a dude who was kind of right next to him in the rankings. Joaquin Buckley, I could easily see him being this main card, opening up the main card of a pay-per-view type fighter, right? Where the win was impressive, but you still got a ways to go before you're an elite middleweight, right? So I thought that there's 2 really good names that are not the most popular, but I think they'd be really good fights, and I wanted your opinion on both of them. So the first one is number 34 ranked Punahele Soriano, right? Coming off of 2 losses. However, this is as explosive as a matchup that you can get. And I kind of wrote a little bit out, man. I just said it's an odd matchup since Soriano's on a 2-5 losing streak, but I can see this bout opening up the main card of a UFC pay-per-view. This is for entertainment. This is for swinging and banging. What do you make of that one?
I like it. I would pick as well. It's kind of in the same fold of that one, man. Puna's an amazing fighter, very, very powerful. This is one of those where either it's going to end in a knockout or it's going to be a drag out, another exhaustion fight where both dudes are out, laying on the mat together.
Yeah. So who do you got, brother?
I'm rocking with Julian Marquez, bro. The Cuban Missile Crisis. I think it'd be another good, like I said, same thing, man. Either someone's going to sleep or both dudes are going to be absolutely exhausted at the end. I think Marquez provides a little bit more of a wrestling aspect, which might cause Buckley some trouble. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to see that one going forward. But I mean, I like the power, and I agree with you. I think Buckley is that fighter that can be starting off the pay-per-view or that main card fight where we're looking for some excitement from him.
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, that's not a bad spot to be whatsoever. But the other matchup that I had was just one more of a, so he could rematch his old, old friend, old pal, Kevin Holland, right? It's not going to be a Kevin Holland fight, but in the same, you know what I mean, territory. Chidi and Joaquin, right? He's coming off that explosive UFC debut where he just got a 1-2 finish, 16 seconds. Why not fight a Joaquin Buckley, man? A powerhouse, a dude who could wrestle a little bit. Chidi and Joaquin is a BJJ black belt as well as being a Muay Thai specialist. I just think that would be a fun fight. Lots of kicks in that fight.
That'd be a very fun fight. I feel like that's almost disrespectful to Buckley because they're putting the new dog to him. But I mean, that'd be a good fight either way.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. So, I mean, look, big things on the horizon for Newmont, so we'll see where he goes. This was the hardest one for me, man. Jim Miller. It's like, where do you go at this point, man? Do you give him an old dog? Do you say, okay, well, you're Jim Miller, and we gave you 2 young guns, and you've got them out the way. Now you got to fight another one. I mean, it's going to be nonstop for the rest of your career at this advanced age, which is not necessarily a problem. But, I mean, I got a couple names, man. I got 3 names, but I'm interested to know where you went because I was kind of confused on this one.
Oh man, I was very confused on this one. I feel like there's good and bad for being the old dog getting paired up with the young guns because it's like, are they as experienced and established in the game? That no, so that might make it a little easier to fight. But then you don't know a lot about them, and they can surprise you with some stuff. So I went with the old guy. I went with another old guy in the game, man. I went Renato Moicano. I think it'd be a good fight.
Shit.
2 older dudes in the game. Maybe we'll see something different. I don't know. This was a very hard one for me to choose, man. I wasn't too excited about the pick, but it would be a good fight regardless.
I mean, looking over the record, I mean, it's not like they fought before, man. That would be a good fight. I mean, Moicano, I think he'd have a little bit of an edge in that fight, just being longer, lankier, right? But that'd be a good fight. I had the winner of maybe number 40 ranked Ricky Guillen and number 20 ranked Drew Dober. They're fighting on March 12th. So I was like, Ricky Guillen is an OG right there. He's coming off of that, like, no contest weird situation. But Drew Dober, I mean, that's a ticket into the top 15 right there if you can get a win over that guy, if Drew Dober does win against Ricky Guillen. If not, I said, why not fight Jared Gordon, who is kind of known as this grinder who could use his grappling to mitigate most of his opponent's offensive attack. I mean, Miller's coming off of back-to-back KO wins. Could this be an interesting matchup between the wrestler and the knockout guy, the newfound knockout guy, Jim Miller? I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that one?
I kind of like that one a little bit more, man. I mean, that is more of an interesting fight to me than all the other ones. Although I do like the Drew Dober fight.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely a clear path to the top. But man, I like it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Who's next for Parker Porter? Who's Parker Porter fight next?
Man, I've been having this round of picking people who to fight next. It's hard because there's no clear-cut path. Is Parker Porter one of these dudes we're gonna shoot him to the top? Not with that last performance. Does he deserve to gain some momentum though? Of course, dude. Hell yeah. I want to see him against the winner of Rogerio de Lima versus Blagoy Ivanov. I think those will both be some interesting matchups depending on how it gets down. Rogerio de Lima, a grinder, same thing with Blagoy Ivanov. We saw that Parker Porter's a grinder if he needs to be, but all 3 of those dudes got hands. It'd be interesting to see. What do you think?
I think that'd be interesting, and I like how you're trying to move him up a little bit. The way that I saw it was, if you keep fighting the way that you're fighting, man, you got to keep fighting these type of fighters that you're fighting. So he can fight, in my opinion, 2 guys. Jake Collier, right, who was another hybrid heavyweight because he's been fighting a bunch of hybrid heavyweights, and that could be, just a fun placeholder on a prelim card. Or how about Dontel Mays if you want another challenge? Another tall dude, long, lanky dude who can use a little bit of wrestling. And it should be an entertaining fight against a behemoth of a heavyweight. And I'm sure Porter is up for the challenge, you know what I mean? If he took on Alan Baudot with no problem, I don't see why he wouldn't take on Dontel Mays. What do you make?
I think that's a lot tougher of a fight for Porter. I like the Mays fight. That'd be a real rough one. And I think that's a good style to get him out of. Cause I agree with you. Right now he's a prelim fighter. Yeah. And I think that's a good fight if taken correctly and won correctly to get him out of that range.
Okay, right on, man. So we'll see what happens with Parker Porter. I mean, he's always a dependable dude. He can get in there and he will scrap. It's not like he doesn't bring the fight. He does, but it takes 2 to tango, and you know how it goes, man. For Kyle Daukaus, man, the newly proclaimed Darce Knight. Listen, man, don't know if that Tony Ferguson bout is going to come to fruition, but I think that he should fight the black belt hunter. I think he should fight number 27 ranked Rodolfo Vieira. Listen, this just makes sense, man. The newly crowned BJJ black belt versus one of the most dangerous submission artists in the UFC. I want to see that. If you're going to work your submission games, do it against the best to do it. Do it against the best submission artists in the game. And that's basically my reasoning for the pick. What do you think?
I'm right there with you, man. Adolfo Vieira. You're gonna call yourself the Darce tonight. You got to go up against the real, like, the actual black belt hunter, man. Some dude who has the chops to get it done, also has the power. So I do think Daukaus has the boxing technical advantage.
Sure.
But I mean, once it hits the ground, that's a whole different game. So that's why I chose it as well. I think it'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, Daukaus is long, lanky. He should have some success against Vieira, but I will say for Vieira, man, I mean, that newfound jab has been dangerous for Vieira. We saw what he did in his last fight against Dustin Stoltzfus, man. He was knocking his head back time and time again. So lastly, man, just to round it up for the main event, Jamahal Hill, devastating knockout versus Johnny Walker. Listen, brother, at this point, man, I kind of foreshadowed already. They're kind of saying the names that make sense because most people are matched up in the division right now. It's Volkan Ozdemir at number 8, who's coming off of 2 losses. However, he is a big name who needs to fight the young guns in order to kind of justify his spot in the rankings. Or Dominic Reyes, who is this former title challenger. A lot of people thought he beat John Jones. He's an unofficial champ. But this is similar to the Ozdemir matchup, except Reyes has a legit wrestling advantage in this fight, I think. So those 2 fights kind of make sense. They're still above Paul Craig. I mean, I'm not going to rule out a Paul Craig rematch, but then again, do you really want to see a Paul Craig rematch? Like, how definitive it was? Like, not really. I don't know, man. What do you think? Is this the only options we have?
Yeah, I went with Dominic Reyes. I think I also like the Ozdemir pick as well. I think the Ozdemir is maybe a little bit easier of a fight, but if I'm Jamahal Hill and I'm his manager, man, we're going after Reyes. That's the one of the dudes, like you said, an undeclared champion. A lot of people thought he won that fight, but had a little bit of rough skid. So it's almost the time that you see that one horse with the gimp leg. It's time to go take that one out if you're the wolf. And that's kind of what the situation is. I mean, I'm not saying Dominic Reyes is, injured or less of a fighter than he ever has been before. He's just on a rough streak. And I think if Jamahal Hill can take advantage of that power transfer, I think it's a really good boat for him. But Dominic Reyes does have a very good ground game advantage. So it's an interesting fight. I definitely like that one a lot, especially if if Hill can jump up. Yeah. It's going to be weird for that Paul Craig situation, like you said. But then, I mean, Paul Craig just has to fight up as well. That's all that counts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that the win over Jamahal Hill is aging incredibly for Paul Craig at this point, right? Like, this is just boosting Paul Craig's stock even more. So I will say that is your matchmaking right there for UFC Vegas 48, folks. So last piece of business is the word on the street, my man. And with that being said, let's jump into our first article. Kevin Lee, former UFC fighter Kevin Lee, says he's happy with the Eagle FC deal and says he'll make more money than some UFC champions, which is an interesting shot to take, AJ. Listen, this is kind of the story that we have time and time again. Now everyone is just saying, like, the UFC doesn't pay. This is something that we've known for a long time. They hold all the power. They have all the leverage. There is no fighters union for the UFC. But what do you think this does for Kevin? Like, at this point, this burns the bridge for the UFC, for Kevin Lee, in my opinion, because you shouldn't be disparaging. Even though you're saying an accurate statement for the most part, you probably shouldn't be disparaging your old job, the number 1 MMA promotion in the world. Listen, we have yet to see him do his thing in Eagle FC. Hopefully he has some success. But what do you just make of this whole situation?
Definitely a risky comment for the fact that also, if you watched the fights last night, the leader of Eagle FC was bumping elbows with Uncle Dana. So, I mean, probably not the smartest call out for Kevin Lee. I hope he does make more money. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. I hope that pay is correct. He's going to be working. He's going to be grinding it out. We're going to see some good things from Kevin Lee going forward. Took a little bit of a shot, I imagine, at the heavyweight champ. We'll see though, because I mean, it's weird. That whole pay thing is so strange, man. It's you got to pay people what they're worth, but you can't pay them more than they're worth. It's a whole thing. You got to have a business. I don't know, man. Definitely a risky call out for Kevin Lee, though. Like I said, because the Eagle FC, I mean, Khabib is still in good graces with the UFC, and you're just shitting on bridges that your boss is creating for you. It's weird.
And Khabib was cage side at UFC Vegas 48, like chilling with Uncle Dana the whole 9. But I just wanted to read this real fast, and it says, we know that the best fighters aren't always in the UFC, Lee told MMA Junkie Radio. There's some guys in Russia that will beat the fuck out you, so my competitiveness in me just drives me to be better than them, and that's just a never-ending process. It's not like now I can just chill. Now I'm making a bunch of money. Now I can go out there and just have fun. No, this is a fight. This is a fight for your life at the end of the day. People lose their life doing this type of shit, so the competitor in me is still up there and driving. I'm making a bunch of money, though. That's the part I'm not upset about. My contract will make more than most UFC champions see, so that part is kind of nice, but the competitor in me still thinks it's the same game. I'm going to make more than the UFC champion in my first fight, so we're having fun. So once again, shots fired, brother. Shots fired. I will just say that, man. And, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, he gets a win in his next bout. That would be a good thing to see. AJ, this is something that we talked about last week previously, but just real quick, Beneil Dariush is injured. It is a broken fibula, I believe, is the actual diagnosis. So Bobby Green meets Islam Makhachev at UFC Fight Night 202, a.k.a. UFC Vegas 49, a.k.a. next week's bout. So, listen, brother, short notice, but hey, man, as much as we got love for the king, Bobby Green, the golden voice on our sleeper drop, this is going to be tough sledding right here, my man. I think Islam Makhachev gets the fight to the ground early, gets probably a finish pretty early. Let's just say I told you I saw Bobby Green grapple at the UFC Fight Night Invitational 1, right? Fight Pass Invitational. Yeah, wasn't good, man. Striking, impeccable. Boxing, impeccable. That grappling, it was a little bit of a different story. Does he make it out the first round, AJ?
Oh, man. Unfortunately, I'm going with no. I mean, that was my question, Derick. How surprised are you going to be if he defends the first shot? Like how many, I think it's only going to take one shot from Makhachev, but how surprised will you be if it takes more than one,
Well, this is the thing right here, man. Bobby Green has a perfect opportunity where he has nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? You stuff one shot from Islam Makhachev, next thing you know, oh my God, how good of a grappler is Bobby Green, right? You land one good cross on Islam Makhachev. Oh, is Bobby Green a top 10 fighter? Is he a top 5 fighter? If you lose and you put on a valiant effort, you arguably are going to be ranked in the top 15. Regardless. So, great spot for Bobby Green. Love to see him getting all of this love at the age. He's like 35 years old, man. So it's like, just being game, it will take you a very far away. Take you very far from time to time, All right, AJ. Uriah Hall says Darren Till is really scared to fight me until responds, my man. So, basically, Darren Till, this was just kind of like a comment that Uriah Hall had made. He says, I wanted Darren Till, but he's just being a punk-ass bitch, Hall said, which is kind of fucking hilarious. Like say something like that. He says, I don't know what happened or if he's playing the UFC or whatnot, but he's the guy that makes sense. I wanted him, but I think he's just scared. I think he's really scared, either that or he's injured or some shit. He's always making excuses. That's how I look at him. He talks smack, but when I know I stand in front of him, he's going to be quiet. So I know I could beat him. I just know I could beat him. He's short, he sucks, he's ugly, and I just know I can kick his ass. Tough talk by Uriah Hall right there, brother. I mean, first, before I talk about the Darren Till response, is this him just trying to get a fight, or is Uriah Hall? So when I saw, nicest guy. When I saw him at UFC International Fight Week, right, for UFC 266, he's over here, he's walking through the crowd, and he's taking pictures with everybody, bro. So much to the point where he had to be like, hey, what's that over there? And then like sneak away, you know what I mean? Like divert the crowd, like, oh, is that bird over there? No, I'm out, right? But he's taking pictures with everybody. Nicest guy, soft-spoken, all this. So seeing him be like, he's ugly, he's a punk, I want to kick his ass, like, just feels a little out of character, a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, it is the fight game. So what do you make of that?
It is the fight game. He went after his height, bro. That's cold, man. That right there, you called him short and ugly. That's it made me think it's a little bit more, but it also could be just, playground politics on that one, taking his lunch money and whatnot. I like the fight. Interesting to see what's Darren Till's response to that, man.
So Darren Till says, brother, you just did an interview saying I'm scared of you. He said, I jumped up to the middleweight and straight off the bat fought two of the best middleweights there is in Gastelum and Whitaker. I've never turned down a fight at welterweight or middleweight. He then continues to say, why you gone so quiet now that I've responded to you? So, it's not the most thrashing of a response, but Darren Till, I mean, listen, he's getting his work in. He was over there training in Sweden with Hamzat Chimaev, man, getting it in, trying to get back in shape. He says he will not be returning until he's 100% legitimately, which is a good thing, man. Take your time, come back, all that good stuff, get right. But in terms of this response, this is just him kind of defending himself, man. Uriah Hall won the mental battle, the mental exchange in this one. He says, you're short, ugly, come on, you suck, you know, just like that's out of the Chael Sonnen book right there. Just like, you suck, like, you know, enough, you know, enough is enough. So maybe a little bit of tension in the middleweight division, man, but either way, I think it will be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. So not too much to take away from there, but that is basically, it is what it is. And AJ, man, I'm not even going to leave anything else. I'm just going to leave off on that one. I think that is fine for the word on the street. Folks, I do hope you enjoyed some of our programming changes. We did it to kind of just, you know what I mean, change up the flow of the show a little bit. I think it worked for the most part, in my opinion. And with that being said, it looks like we're ready for the outro, my man. Listen, AJ, this was a fun night of fights. I already said next week we got the short notice bout. We got the what was Dariush versus Makhachev, now Makhachev versus Bobby Green. Should be fun though, regardless. Mondays and Fridays, folks, you can find us at 8 a.m. on YouTube, man. So type in Bloody Water Podcast. Hit us up on the website, bloodywaterpodcast.com. And, you know, hit us up on, you know what I mean, Instagram, comment, all that good stuff. AJ talks about it all the time. You drop a comment, we will be responding, all of that fun stuff. AJ, any last words for the people before we get out of here?
Man, you said it best, Derick. Hit us in the comments. Let us know what you think about the switch up of the, the show schedule. If you like getting the main card at the beginning, you like getting the fighter of the night at the end, and you know that's a specific segment towards us. And we do a lot of work out here, folks. So share it with your friends. It always helps out so much. I see it all the time too. You know, you buy some merch. Shout out to the homie Joseph the other day. Bought some merch. Put it on Instagram. Let the rest of the Instagram world know that you're helping out your homies over here. Don't be buying from big businesses. Buy from your friends that you actually know, because the rest of the people don't give a shit about you, but you know who does, man. We right here rocking with you since day one, and we appreciate all the love that you show us here too. Share with your friends. Let them know where to go win some money, because you know those bets were on point this week for both people. For both sides, Derick and I, both 4-1, and we even had a couple different choices in there, so you know we're choosing the rights, man. Get that money going. Let us know how you feeling about the show. Let us know how much money you want as well. We love seeing you, and we'll see you here next week as well.
Absolutely, and well, let's double down on that. Shout out to the homie Joe. We appreciate you, brother. Got your merch, all the good stuff, man. And to everybody who's out there supporting, we appreciate you individually, collectively, the entire nine. There would be no show if you guys did not tune in. So all love. Find us again to talk about the upcoming fights on Friday, 8 a.m., folks. You know what time it is. Until next time, peace.